call to order the regular board meeting of the School District of North Fond du Lac, April 22nd, 2019. Roll call.
Chisholm. Grabowski here. Hawk.
Here.
Stepbacher here. Fowler.
Here.
We have a quorum. Report on public notice.
Public notices were mailed to KFIZ 107.1 The Bull, to NFDL, or W News, Greg Stenzel at WNFDL News, and also to the Reporter, as well as posted at US Bank, the district office, and also the municipal building. That happened both on Friday, and then there was a couple of adjustments, and then I did that again on, or that happened on Thursday, and then a couple of adjustments, so I did on Friday. The final one was on the 19th of April, 2019.
All right, item D, Pledge of Allegiance. All stand. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item E, as this is the first April meeting after the spring elections, we next have the oath of office for one of our newly elected board members, Paul Stepbacher.
We got Pete in the parking lot last week, so he's gone, but he got sworn in and everything, so we're legal there.
He's out of state this weekend and today yet, so that's why you have me running.
Grandpa's like 90, some of his dad's 90-something birthday. All right, here we go. Are you ready? Ready? Stand up. So you get it, and somebody here. We'll get a picture in front of her. Like, come on over. We'll get in front of everybody. Yeah, leave pictures. Okay. All right. And you beat Pete.
He always straights.
Yeah, he does. That's maybe why he's not here. Right, raise your right hand. I, Paula Stepbacher,
I, Paula
who
Stepbacher,
have been elected to the office of school board member,
who have been elected to the office of school board member,
but have not yet entered upon
but have not yet entered upon
the duties thereof,
the duties thereof,
swear that I will
swear that I will
support the Constitution
support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the state of Wisconsin,
of the state of Wisconsin,
and will
and will
faithfully
faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of said office
of said
to the
office
best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. If you want to just put Paula's name in there, and then she can sign, and then put this date, and then you sign. Two of them, she can keep on. And then if that's okay, I'd sent earlier that normally a reorganization meeting of picking the president, vice president, treasurer, and clerk, but with Pete gone, found out that our next board meeting's in within 3 weeks, so we have plenty of time legally to get that done, and we'll do that along with the appointment of duties to CISA 6 and any other committees you want to set up at the May 13th meeting.
All right, item F, the approval of minutes. They were submitted in the packet. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about the minutes, corrections? All right, hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as printed. Next item G, the treasurer's report.
All right, cash balance on hand as of April 1st, 2019 is $110,092.45. We had receipts dated 4/2 through 4/22 of $856,425.05. And we did have a transfer from investment accounts of $600,000 for a total receipts of $1,566,517.50. Our expenditures 4/2 through 4/22 were $1,371,477.25. And that led us with a cash balance on hand as of April 22nd of $195,040.25. Our pre-approved checks were $661,130, and our board meeting checks are $653,054.41, for total bills to be approved of $1,314,184.41.
All right. We'll entertain a motion to approve the list of bills.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Any other questions or? All right, then roll call.
Pollock.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Stepbacher.
Yes.
Goldowski, yes.
All right. Next item is the clerk's report.
We have a thank you letter from the Children's Hospital of Wisconsin. Was this a fundraiser? Okay, a fundraiser that we donated money to them. The other two we did last time,
Gotcha.
so that's all I have.
Oh, and donations.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, Vicki and George Krupp, it'll take me forever to find it on there. Yamaha trombone, almost a $1,400 value, that's awesome. And Sigma for $1,000 for our compassion fund.
And Vicki and George Group, they donate an instrument almost every year. They're very, very kind.
That's awesome.
Okay. Item I, the student council report. Next will be Dominic Ackerman, student council president. Correct.
For the Horace Mann Student Council, we had our annual family night, and it was held on March 13th to a great success. This event is set up by the council members to provide a fun-filled evening to the families in North Fond du Lac. It is open to pre-K through 5th graders and their families. We provide a variety of games and prizes for families to enjoy. The theme this year was Escape to the Tropics. We also had a wonderful array of door prizes donated this year with 17 baskets created. Families can purchase door prize tickets, and these are awarded at the end of the evening. The student council members once again did a great job running the games and organizing the event. This year we had the fishing club join us, the ice fishing club, with 2 new games, fishing bingo and a casting game. Both went over big. We look forward to providing this opportunity again next year. In this April, the Horace Mann Student Council has been busy holding elections for next year's class officers and class representatives. We also have our new student council officers for the 2019-2020 school year. Gabby McDowell will serve as the president, Amy Rabadon as vice president, Edie Malarkey as the secretary, and Sean Ashenfelter as treasurer. Students will be attending the Wisconsin Association of Student Councils State Conference in Green Bay this Sunday, April 28th, into Monday on April 29th. Convention items include a scrapbook, banner, event button, and project will be entered into the convention competitions. The Student Council will be picking the homecoming class colors in the beginning of May, and will finish out the year by offering the Kisses Senior Goodbye Sale. These are Hershey Kisses a person can purchase to their favorite senior. For other high school clubs, the National Honor Society held its induction ceremony last Sunday on April 14th. We had an Olympian silver medalist in judo, Lynn Rethke, as our guest speaker. We had over 150 people attend the banquet with 22 new inductees to our National Honor Society. The Key Club will host their annual Kiwanis Breakfast on May 6th. Both groups are determining their officers for next year at this time.
All right, thank you, Dominic. Any questions for Dominic or any comments? All right, thank you. Next item is item J, the citizen input section. I've opened the floor to any citizens who have a comment or question for the board. And hearing none, I will close that part of the meeting and move on to item K, the superintendent's report. First item is recognize and celebrate winter all-conference athletes.
Thank you, Mr. Hawk. Yes, we had one conference champion. Our wrestling team won the state conference, or won the Flyweight Conference Championship, and was very close in regionals, almost making it to sectionals and almost a state. It's going to be a great year next year. And we had quite a few people, one more than we had last year, make it for all conference, including 2 state place winners. I did not get the powerlifting on this one. I will get that on our May meeting too. We had some actually qualify for nationals in powerlifting. So at this time, to give a brief summary of the winter all-conference awards and how our teams did, I'm going to turn over to Athletic Director Matthew Bertram.
That's what I got to stand up for that. Overall, winter went very well. Basketball-wise, we hosted our first ever Hall of Fame basketball tournament, and we had 6 different schools here, and we hosted 16 games over 2 days in the high school and middle school between JV and varsity boys and girls basketball. It was a huge success to the point where we are back at it again next year. Next year was such a big success that we were able to dictate what we're going to have for teams next year. So the teams that are coming next year are not only providing their boys, but they're bringing their girls too. So it'll be the same schools providing both the boys and the girls for it. So it'll be Manawa, Oakfield, and Randolph will be coming here for the tournament next year. So it'll be pretty much the same format for that. We were able talk about facilities and all that stuff, other things that are going on here. One thing that our facilities allowed us to do this year for this winter sport was actually allow us to host the girls semi-final sectional game here between Waupun and Laconia. We were able to pack in probably about 1,500 people into our high school gym, and it was an incredible event, and very proud of the workers and everybody else that helped out with that. Boys basketball, Coach Schmidt wasn't able to be here tonight, but he just wanted me to pass along. His record this year did not reflect on how proud he was of the boys. We had 2 wonderful things here. I see Mr. Reyes here and Mr. Gilbertson able to get all conference nominations and awards for boys basketball. And the one thing that Coach Schmidt will talk about as far as including these 2 gentlemen was, despite the record, the guys never quit. They fought all year long. They drew a bad, didn't get the best seed for the playoffs, but then they went down to Watertown Lutheran Prep, and they gave the number 4 seed in the first round everything they could handle, and then some, to that game where we were very close to pulling off that upset. So it was a pleasure watching them all season long and knowing that they never gave up all year, and looking forward to the future with the boys basketball team. Coach Keel sends along these regards as far as the girls are concerned. He wasn't able to be here either. JV team finished 19-3 this year for our girls JV team. All 3 of those losses were to the same team in Laconia. They beat us in the holiday tournament, and they beat us twice in the regular season. So 3 losses to Laconia, but we'll get them soon. Varsity, again, also kind of similar to boys, had a rough season up and down as far as scoring is concerned, but they went into the playoffs and were able to pull off a miraculous comeback to knock Ripon off in the first round, and then right into the buzzsaw of Laconia, who went on to become the state runners-up this year in girls basketball in the second round. And with that, we had 2 all-conference nominations there, and Jordan Stepbacher, the honorable mention, and Becca Kingsland with the second team all-conference nod there. Powerlifting, once again, Coach Moffey unable to be here. He'll talk more about that next meeting. But with powerlifting, this is our first year as the School District of North Fond du Lac fully recognizing powerlifting as a full sport. They have, first year they've got an actual school budget and all that stuff this year, which is a huge honor. Coach Moffey has put in a ton of work to obtain that recognition from the school district, and he has asked a lot of those lifters. The thing that's unique about powerlifting is that basically it gives our students, athletes, a way to letter in varsity sports twice in one season, because both boys and girls could be out for basketball or wrestling or any other sport and also still be a part of powerlifting and letter in that too. And Coach Moffey has worked very well with all of our coaches to work out and figure out a way to not only hold those kids to a high standard to make it to competitions, but also to let them be a part of other sports. That this year we were able to send 5 girls to state competition, and one of those girls, Anna McCourt, actually made it all the way to nationals down into Louisiana. As far as wrestling, I have our conference champion head coach Doug Forsyth here with us. Rather than talk about the wrestling, I am going to turn it over and let him do that for himself.
All right, thank you. We had a historic wrestling season this year. We won our first conference championship ever. We had 8 guys in the conference finals and ended up with 5 champions. So Zach Williams was first team all-conference. Andrew Forsythe was first team all-conference. It was his third one. Dalton Fritsch was first team all-conference. It was his second. Lane Fritsch was first team all-conference. And Marcus Orlandoni was also first team all-conference, and it was his second also. I think Marcus is the only one here I saw come in. And then we went on with regionals. We hosted the regionals. We got half our team to qualify for sectionals, which again was fantastic. And we ended up with 4 state qualifiers. So Andrew Forsythe went to state, and Dalton Fritsch, Lane Fritsch, and Marcus again qualified for state. Marcus and Andrew both got the opportunity to compete in the state semifinals. So they both won their first 2 matches and then lost in the semis. And then Marcus ended up coming back to finish 4th, and Andrew finished 5th. So we had 2 guys on the podium. So it was a fantastic season. The kids set records in all kinds of different areas as far as pins and take, and just, it was phenomenal. And we only graduate 1 senior. So we basically have the whole squad coming back next year. So things look very bright, and it was a great season. So thanks.
And Marcus and Matthias and Tony, stand on up. Let's give you a big round of applause. Thanks, guys. I know there's a lot of dedication and a lot of weekend basketball tournaments when they were like in 4th grade, 3rd grade, 5th grade, all the way through. So there's a lot. So thank you, parents, very much. Thank you for the coaches. Thank you, Assistant Athletic Director Dave Cohen and Matt for your work this winter. And I'll just give a really quick statement about how spring's going so far.
Before I go on to spring, this year was North Fond du Lac's year for hosting a lot of their stuff here. So as Coach talked about, we had to host a conference tournament, and these 2 gentlemen right here to my left, both Mr. Forsythe and Mr. Dave Cohen, the fact that we hosted the regionals, we hosted the team sectionals, we hosted the conference wrestling tournament, none of those would have been possible without these 2 gentlemen here. So without a doubt, please give, I'd like to have a round of applause for those 2 gentlemen. Quite amazing work. As far as spring is going here, we've kicked off spring, and luckily we didn't get 14 inches of snow here to start April off. It's been a little rough with field conditions. Going forward, I know Mr. Sadov's going to talk to you guys on the board about some of the issues with some of the facilities going forward with baseball and whatnot. But overall, our teams are off to great starts. We were fortunate enough to be able to send our softball team down to Kentucky. Thank you for approving that. It was a huge success. The girls and the coaches and everybody involved had an amazing time. They got to take on some top-notch caliber talent. Took on 2 of the teams in Kentucky that are actually perennial state champions down there, and really got to see some, which has helped our young softball team grow tremendously by leaps and bounds, and really bond as a team. Track, off to its usual great start with head coach Mrs. Harney in her final year, working towards making sure they're getting ready as we also host the conference track tournament coming up here soon. This week we're actually hosting the county meet, hopefully on Thursday, weather permitting, where we have many of the schools in Fond du Lac County coming here, and then we followed up on Friday with our middle school meet. So we have a lot of action going on here for spring sports right now, and luckily we're able to get a majority of them in. The other thing coming up for spring sports starting next year that you'll see later on the board agenda is, of course, those some of those ideas as far as cooperating with Oakfield for a couple of our spring sports starting next year, looking at golf and track and how those can help not only benefit our partner there at Oakfield, but also benefiting us too. So, any questions?
I have one. The trip to Kentucky, all the planning, everything, that all worked out as planned?
It went better than it could have been planned. It was really Coach Stepbacher, Coach Smith, and them. I couldn't do my job without incredible, wonderful people being able to work with, and I am very fortunate as athletic director to have, Mr. Cohen and all the head coaches. I really cannot speak high enough about the head coaches that we have in place here in North Fond du Lac. It's not just lip service when I say that we are in the right direction. We are definitely all working together for the success of all, and that's something I'm so proud of, is how all of our head coaches communicate and work with each other to not only help their individual sports, but all the sports here in North Fond du Lac, and just really got to tip my hat to them. It's a pleasure working for them and helping them be successful.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. And then if you guys want to stick around, you're more than welcome to for the next hour, 2 or 3. But thank you guys in graduating. You two guys, congratulations. Only a couple weeks left. And Mark, if you guys are coming back.
19 days, right?
Yeah.
19 days.
All right, moving on, let me ask you guys if the board's okay with this. We have, there's a couple of conversations that we're gonna have here, I think, that are gonna take a little bit longer in the superintendent's report. I know Adam and Mike are gonna be reporting on some stuff going on at Pasadena and curriculum, instruction. I know Samantha's gonna talk a little bit about alternative learning. What I was wondering if it would be okay is if we went to, we have the Trefford Way here, if we went to, so it's a new item. And if we can move that up, like go to the new business and look at that contract first, and then that way they can, if that'd be okay, and then go back to superintendent's report, would that be all right with you guys? Sure. That'd be okay with you guys back there? Sure. All right. All right, so then we'll go to the first one, which is discuss and consider.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
We're good.
All right, so we'll go to new business. So number 1, discuss and consider charter school contract with North Fond du Lac Charter School, Inc. for the status of the Trefford Way for the Exceptional Mind Charter School. I had provided that contract to you, and I worked with Meg is here, and also Dr. Ed, who's not here. But instead of going through the whole thing, the contract, and then speaking as you think I need to correct here.
All right.
But actually we have Tess O'Brien, she's our attorney from Boardman and Clark. They also have an attorney that they're working with. We took the Wisconsin model contract for charter schools, and what we did is we just changed the things that were more specific to us, including being the instrumentality of the school district. What does that mean? How does that look? We've learned a lot of stuff about legally how it goes, and pretty much what that contract does is it sets up the charter school as being its own entity, and the 501c3 is called the North Fond du Lac Charter School, Inc. Mm-hmm. And that's also, I think, fulfilled, or I think that Ed said that all that
It's
stuff.
in process. Yep.
It's in process. So in essence, it's a contract between that group and the school district to have the charter school. The charter school is an instrumentality, meaning it's all of its employees, all that fall underneath the guise of the school district, and with a couple different changes, which are some policies that are waived so that they can be a charter school, none of which are critical. We actually talked with the DPI, and there's some that we had to move around, but everything the DPI said, everything that the attorney for the charter school and everything that Tess, our attorney, said, we're pretty much right on line. So it's going to be, I think, a great thing. I really appreciate you guys. If you want to give me an update like in a second about how you guys are doing in your forming your group. You have board members now. We have 6 staff that are going to be staffing that, and it's filled already. And then Meg and Alan, myself, and Ed, I've showed them the new area that's under significant construction from where the Trefford Way is going to be, and should be great. So I'll ask you, do you guys have any questions from the contract that you saw? There's nothing
Well,
Nothing.
I had just
Sure.
two things I wrote down. So I think you just explained it with the 501(c), but that's why it's with the North Fond du Lac Charter School
Correct.
versus the Treffert Way then, because
Correct.
that's how it's connected to us.
No, that's like, it'd be like if we made that, just the North Fond du Lac Charter School Inc. is a whole separate entity. They're organized under a 501(c)(3, like Oriole Nation.
Yep.
So they're their own nonprofit. The school district is making a contract with them, not Agnesian,
But
not
not
the Treffert
But
Center.
not Treffert Way for the Exceptional Mind.
That's the name of the school.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it, okay. And then just very minor, but I caught it, 3.7, number F, just has a typo.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, we saw it too.
Okay, good.
All right, we will get that taken care of.
Meg, any comments or?
Yeah, and if you guys want to give an update from your board meetings and how everything's going?
I'm Alan Patterson. I have the privilege of being president of the board. I can tell you, I'm coming into this as a rookie. I do have a background in education, but it is very impressive what you're agreeing to. Dr. Treffert is a national treasure. We are so fortunate that he's here in our community, and this approach is pretty eye-opening, and we're honored that you've agreed to house us and work with us to make this possible. The staff's done a stellar job so far. Aaron has spent time with us to make sure that we're all marching in the same direction. Members of the board are spending a lot of time getting up to date. We got a lot of work to do, but that's what you do. It's a startup. And it's also a marriage, so we'll be working through whatever we need to work through to make it work. So thank you for having
We'll
me.
even do counseling, Alan, if we need to. You know what I mean? If you can go in there.
I've already set it up with Dr.
Oh, good.
Paul.
Thank you. That's why I draw that house tree person thing, isn't it? Yeah.
And then we have some staff here. You guys want to do a staff update?
Yeah, we've just been continuing with developing our curriculum and then also with our continuing education. 2 weeks ago, Meg Putty, Beth Dardis, Tim Owens, and myself had the opportunity to go to the National Innovative School Network Convention, which was really, just a good time to network and find out what other schools nationally are doing. But it also was an opportunity to get North Fond du Lac Charter School's name out there. So, we've met a lot of people now that we can bounce back and forth ideas with. It's going to be some really good resources for us just starting up. And then Meg, Beth, and myself that same week had the opportunity to present at the Wisconsin Autism Convention, where we also were able to share what the Treffert Way will be doing, supported by North Fond du Lac. So it was a great community outreach opportunity and a lot of good questions and feedback from people that were attending. So.
And you guys know everybody back there?
Well, I think we asked them to introduce themselves previously. If anybody else is here that wasn't there at that meeting, we'd be happy to hear from them.
I don't think I was there. I'm Tiffany Dolan. I'll be teaching over there next year, but I think most of you know me already, my friendship, so.
I guess that would be the only other thing that to share is that we're really excited tonight at our board meeting that we made a statement of support for Tiffany to go back to school to get the education necessary for administrative licensure down the line. And so really kind of planning for the future already and looking at how we can grow and continue to build within the district.
And then, so that's the plan as Tiffany gets in her position. She's going to function mostly as a teacher and keep going and learning about the administrative role and get the credentials. In the meantime, Meg has been with our administrative cabinet, so she's been the liaison. We've met the past 2 weeks and it's been great. I really appreciate you coming in. I think our administrative cabinet feels a lot more in tune to what's going on. Meg has done a really great job being able to see the forest through the trees and help to support the teachers because they got a lot of work to do. Bottom line is getting everything prepared and then having to deal with all this other stuff was, I think, overwhelming. So Meg's done a great job. Looking forward to Tiffany continuing to go down the road of getting her credentials and her licensures to be the administrator as time goes on. So it's been very, very exciting.
It is an exciting time. So it's great to see the advancement through the steps. So. And then tonight we'll consider the contract. So I'll entertain a motion to discuss and consider charter school contract with North Fond du Lac Charter School, Inc. for establishment of the Treffert Way for the Exceptional Mind Charter School.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right. So moved and seconded. Any further discussion by the board? All right, roll call.
Stepbacher.
Yes.
Skodatsky, yes. Hawk.
Yes.
Collar.
Yes.
Motion carried.
It's official.
Bravo.
And the commencement of the contract will not be until July 1st, that way, because it only can be a 5-year contract. So if we started now, it would actually run out before the end of the 5th year. So it'll start then, and then we'll just stay on top of stuff. There's going to be a great in-service on Friday also that's going to be happening. So thank you very much. We have a new school now. Officially, we're legally bound. Marriage just started.
Yeah, you don't have to carry me over the threshold.
No, you're good with that, Al? Yeah, all right.
I'd rather see it the other way around.
Yeah.
A good one.
And if you ever want, that board and the team are great. So it's gonna be fun, and I think that new space is gonna work really well. I know that Meg's meeting with Carrie Jo for some of the shared space over at Friendship, but I can see a big sign right over the awning coming out that says the Treffert Way for the Exceptional Mind Charter School, and it'll be awesome. So thank you, everybody, for all your work, if you will.
Thank you for all your
You
work.
guys you're killing it, you're doing awesome, you bring a lot of pride to Oriole Nation. We now have another school in Oriole Nation, so thank you. Excellent, all right.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
We're gonna go wrestle out.
Yeah, I'll bounce back. Have a good one, guys. We'll take care of all the signatures and stuff later, but it's official. See you guys, thank you. All right.
Maybe not, sorry.
Oh, and just by the way here, quality, as you can see, 1,058 votes, Pete had 923. It's now on video, so there we go. There we go. Crushed. And let's see, yeah, you really did a great Friendship. Boy, you carried Friendship big time. Nice. All right, so just a couple updates on the referendum. I included this. This is the mural of, you can look back here. This is a mural. It's going to go on this whole wall. It's like 16 feet tall. Just amazing. These are the different pieces that are going to be on that wall as you walk in. And Jane Mongen and her crew are working on it. Mike McDowell and his crew helped make the boxes, so that's that. I got you. Yes.
Good question. I'm not real artsy, but is there some significance to the circles or the spots?
Yeah, so what it is, it's welcome in like 7 different languages. So it's just a mosaic, but then it says welcome in 7 different languages because of World of Friendship.
All right.
So, and then you saw this will be going out next week. And it has the date for open house, 5:30 to 7:30, and then also the dedication at 10 o'clock on the 10th. I invite a ton of people. I just put something out, I said save the date, Alan Beekle's coming. I submitted to the governor. Haven't heard back. I put that in on Friday, so it'd be nice to get, if he came, all of our local officials. Mike, if you wouldn't mind, also I know I sent to you, but if you would get it to the whole, I sent to Nick also, so but get it to the whole board, tell them they're all welcome to come. We'd love to have them too. So you can see the mailer. I think it does a really good job of kind of showing, you know, you want to talk about did we deliver on what we said? Check this out. I mean, does it get any closer than these 2 pictures there for that staircase? And we're going to get a sign on here. I don't know what, you know, like a plaque that says what this is. And maybe some pictures of like of the state championship teams and back in the day stuff. That is just way cool. People really, really get about that. And then right here, North America. Definitely looks just like it. So, and then here's the plaque. I don't know if we're gonna get the plaque in time, but I do have a full size picture that I'm gonna print off and put on foam. So it's gonna look like the dedication plaque, even if it's not here, so it's gonna act like it's heavy and everything. So hopefully we have it there by then. As we went through, thank you for your input. To take the city of Fond du Lac off, there's no residents there. It would have been confusing, so we're good to go. But thank you to Holiday and Target for giving us some cash and property taxes, so that's cool. I did put Debbie and Melanie on there talking. They did so much to get the referendum going that I had them on there too. So I'm excited to let them know that. And then worked with Chad and Dave, and we've got all of the subs. the major subs, so a lot of them are local, and some that aren't as local, but we make sure we got everybody kind of helped out, so that's that.
Very nice.
Yep, so. And we're gonna be moving out of the district office, Dave, when is that, the 15th or 17th? 17th of May. We are gonna have one more meeting here. The last meeting we have here is gonna be the 13th of May. Then in June and on, we're gonna have them probably at the Oriole Nation Welcome Center at Friendship, the new Friendship, and then we'll move into the new digs in August when we get out of that front room, and that's where our meetings will be. So, anything else you guys got? So middle school, you're sitting in the classroom right here, and Mike, you guys are gonna be moving out, and that's gonna start to get reallocated soon. Chris and I met with with the ELC today, all the people stakeholders there. We're figuring out rooms and everything there. Dave and I have talked to and met with Bray and Frederickson. We talked to them. We think we can get a new steam boiler. We're gonna hopefully not put it in that room and put it next to it. Maybe we'll figure that all out, save the room. But so we're moving on that too, more pragmatic over there. Got in to do all the flooring over at Friendship that we talked about. We initially came in at $144,000, but that's with rip out, which we've already done a lot. So I see that number dropping significantly. We're also getting price for all the ceiling tile, and then also there's some paneling and old wood there that we're getting a quote on there. So when you go in, it'll all be brand new, like we had talked about in our meeting. So, Dave, any information on the update for referendum? All right, you guys have anything? All right, you guys have any questions? Cool. I am going to get out an official email or something probably next week to everybody. I don't know if I'm going to send paper invites. I'm just going to send an email invite, let people know. One thing that I do have is I printed these off. It's got the wrong date and stuff on it, but I just want you to kind of look at this and tell me, kind of what we want the thing to look like when we have the ceremony.
This is one during the day.
Yeah, this is the one on the 10th. The one on the 6th, we're gonna figure that out. It'll be a walking tour like we had before. Oh, by the way, last week, Wednesday, man, Thursday or Tuesday? When was that family night? It was packed. Yeah. Tuesday. Yeah. So there was already a family night there that a lot of people came to. So we have the thank you ceremony. I don't know if Pete wants to speak. We'll get all that stuff out recently off the board. We'll put Mike's name on there, Melissa's name on there. I don't know the speaking, so if anybody wants to speak, let me know. And then Debbie, she'll be off. We'll get a different staff representative. Said construction song, we're not gonna do that. Probably have Mike, I know, but have Mike Fedison probably have the band play something or figure something out. And then if we get the governor, we'll have him talk. So just kind of, this is just do you like this front cover like this? Okay, and then on the back, we'll just kind of do some of this. And I'm thinking we do a welcome and introductions, and then either you, Steve, or Pete can do a thank you to the community, or both of you. And then Clint and Dave, if they want to say anything, they can, or Allison. Then Carrie Jo, along with, we'll have another staff representative, maybe bring Eli back again, the neighbor he had spoke before. Then we'll figure out something fun to do, thank you for the support, and then they can go, I don't know if we'll cut a ribbon, or if, I don't know, we'll do a pinata.
This is on the 10th, right?
Yep. Yeah. So, big scissors, yeah, big scissors. So we'll figure something, we're gonna have it in the gym too.
This must be from the groundbreaking ceremony?
Yeah.
Okay, because Pete wasn't available then, but I think it'd be appropriate.
Okay.
First shot.
But I'm thinking something just simple, like this, with that, and then, okay. All right. All right, rep for budget update, Maria.
Yes. Okay, that's me here already. It's hard to believe. I gave you a few things to look at, but I just wanted to go over just this memo that I sent you guys, just in case there are any questions on, I know sometimes, what is an HRA and what is OPEB for some of our newer people. The HRA deductible, that's because we have the 2,000, 4,000 premium deductible, so that's that first bullet point up there. So that's, and then OPEB is our post-employment benefit. So I just want to go over these just so it might make a little bit more sense as I go through the numbers. SBS MAC is school-based services and Medicaid. Those are reimbursements that I'm not exactly sure how that we bill for those hours that we provide services, correct?
And then we just have to back up how we're using those hours in our personnel.
E-rate is on our technology infrastructure and some of our equipment. We get reimbursed 80% on some of that equipment, and then open enrollment. But this year is looking really, really good. We are looking at a surplus of right now between 100 and 150,000. But as these bullet point items come in, we'll know more. In fact, I'll be bringing the budget revision numbers to you at the next board meeting. And we'll tighten that up and then get that to DPI, and then they'll be able to calculate our aid a little bit closer for next year. So we'll have a better idea of our aid. But it is looking really good right now. HRA is always something that can throw us one way or another, because right after the new year is when people are starting to go, if they're going to the doctor, they're turning in, that's when their deductibles start over again. So we're seeing some high utilization right now in HRA. So I would, depending on what that surplus is, I would strongly recommend that we stick, just like we did last year, stick a good chunk of that surplus into the OPEB trust, our retirement trust, because if all goes as budgeted this year, we will deplete that, and we will have to dig into Fund 10 next year in order to pay the retiree bills.
And one of the reasons we'd want to do that, we have that fund, what's the building fund?
46.
One of those two, because we want to have a zero, and because then we get aid on it.
It maximizes our aid.
It maximizes our aid. So we have some different avenues and ways that we can leverage that money. So, but that information, once we get a little bit more of how much we're going to have, it just frees up Fund 10 money too.
Yep. That being said, I would also recommend putting money, just like we did last year, into fund balance. As our expenditures go up, our fund balance should also try and keep pace with that. It helps, it will minimize our need to cash flow borrow in the future. So if we can keep stacking away a little bit at a time. This year I think we had like $34,000 left to play with. So we were holding bills, and it's not uncommon in other districts either. It kind of, our bank, when I talked to our banker, he said, "You guys are playing Russian roulette over there." And I said, "Yeah, we are." But we made it through. So we need to be cognizant of that. And that happens around October, November. So those would be my recommendations, and we'll see what we have left. If it trends to the 150,000, we'll have some decisions to make by the end of the year. 1920. Well, first of all, are there any questions on 1819 so far? Open enrollment changed. Revenue looked like it went down, and expenditures look like, or wait, no, the opposite. Our revenue went down, but so did our expenditures. So, and that was a recent, I had gotten those numbers from Kayla Dieter just recently, so it looks like net, it looks like we're on track with open enrollment for this year. So any questions on 1819? And I'll give you another update in 3 weeks. 1920 right now looks challenging, but there is so much up in the air yet with the governor's budget. It could swing if he goes with more special ed aid. I budgeted in 30% special ed aid, and that's up from 24.5, which is what we're currently getting. He's talked about 60% special ed aid, which is probably not going to happen, but if it's somewhere in between there, it could swing a few $100,000 for us. So they're hoping to have a budget passed by the end of summer, by the end of June. We're keeping our fingers crossed, but we'll see. So some of the assumptions I have listed there, and Erin will be talking in closed session with you about pay increases and what that actual dollar amount added up to. Health insurance premium increase of 10%, dental 5%. We won't know that until fall, but that's kind of an average, industry average. We talked about the transfer from our general fund to post-employment benefits. And then we are planning a spring borrowing, and we talked about that, I believe, in the fall as well. We're starting to pay off our non-referendum debt, which was $1 million. We have 1 or 2 payments left of that. So, and we can borrow up to $1 million without going to referendum. So we talked about doing that again after we know a little bit more about the budget, about the governor's budget, because that does decrease our Fund 10 revenue. So I figured in about $150,000 loan payment, so that directly affects Fund 10, our general fund. So that would start in the spring. Let's see, and that would be to kind of fill that hole, the excess of the $2.5 million referendum that happened here, the Bessie and Horace Mann, because it went over that. So that extra $1 million would go toward the remodel that that referendum didn't cover. Let's see. I also assumed that our per pupil revenue limit would go from 95.97, which is what it is right now, to 9,700. So that's that dollar amount on each resident student that we have here. And then we already talked about the special ed aid, going from 24.5 to about 30. So we'll see where that comes in. And then the various additions that we've already, as an admin team, that we've already implemented. And those are listed there for you.
Ray, excuse me, where we go for the Fund 38 loan spring borrowing, is that something new have we talked about that? I apologize if I don't recall that.
No, we did. What we did is, so go talk.
No, go ahead.
Okay. When we did the referendum, we had $2.5 million here, but doing what we did before we okayed the bids and stuff was about $3.7 million. So what we did is, at that time, said we're going to wait, we'll borrow the money, and then we also have the interest that we're making off the loans that then we'd also utilize to invest in doing a little bit more here. That was when we okayed all the bids for the middle and high school.
Yep, and I've been talking with Baird on timing of that, and he just suggested, let's just wait and see how the governor's budget looks like it's going to play out, just to see what we can afford. You know, we might be able to decrease that loan amount by 100,000, or we'll see. But the max we could do would be 100,000, or would be $1 million. And we'll look at our local bank, as well as we'll also look to Baird to give us some resources, but we'll look at our local bank to see what kind of rates we can get from them.
And then with the additions that Maria has here, some of these too, this has evolved, is changing too. But what we're going to, tomorrow, we're going to, as an administrative team, spend probably a good chunk of our 3-hour meeting, 2 hours of it, prioritize. We're not adding anything more right now, but we're going to prioritize. So when we see what revenue comes and what that looks like, we can start to say, okay, in June, are we going to do this? Then I'll have some good marching orders and organizations so that we can then move on those things. So we're going to have some really good conversations about what is most important right now. Are there some places where we can reduce also, and how that all looks? So we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. The biggest thing is if you look at this blue sheet, Maria, you want to explain to them what this is?
Yep, this, we started using this a few years ago now, and it just shows down the middle that our projected deficit is $703,000. And that changes as we talk about things with admin, or things just come up that we know we need to add. or take out of the budget. But on the left-hand side, these are the ideas that would increase costs or decrease revenues that would add to the deficit. And then on the right side, these are some of the things that would increase revenues or decrease costs, which would add to a surplus or decrease that deficit. So I don't have any actual dollar amounts in there. A lot of it is, it's general information that these are the things that we keep in mind as we do the budget. We kind of do a reasonability test. For example, open enrollment, and I have that budgeted as flat. Well, we know we're going to get more kids, so that's going to increase our revenue. But right now, I can't put a dollar amount on that right now. So, but that is one of the things that will increase the revenue.
We just don't know, without having a budget, without knowing how many kids we're gonna have. We know at the Trefford Way, that's 40 kids. So if 40 kids move out of Friendship, and we get 40 new open enrolled kids, or however that works, or they open enrolled at the Trefford Way, that brings quite a bit of revenue. Even if that could be anywhere from $320,000 to $500,000 just in increased revenue from students, depending if they're open enrolled or if they're FTEs or our residents. We also could get, they're talking about 1.2 multiplier for students that qualify for which meaning that we would count them as 1.2. So for every 5 children that qualify for free reduced lunch, we could get another FTE. We're talking about the same thing with EL. I will be going to Green Bay Joint Finance Committee hearing. There's been 3 of them already. I think Green Bay is the last. I'm going to right up there with Jim Siebert and then testify about number 1 is the special education money. The more that we get there, the more that the more that's increased in that, the more Fund 10 money is freed up. Because we transfer $2.4 million-ish from Fund 10, so the more reimbursement we get, the more then that we will have and that's true for everybody throughout the state. So going to advocate for that, advocate for the $200 or $204 per kid for next year and then the year after. And then talk a little bit about, Maria talked about our short-term borrowing or our fund balance. There is maybe standalone legislation. I got like about 80-90% feeling that they're going to change the way we get aided, meaning we're going to hopefully get 25% of our aid right away instead of just 15, which would change quite a bit. That would allow us to clean some things up and then do some investing. So, and I think that's another one, just like the signature bill came from North Fond du Lac. I mean, people won't say that, but we know where it came from, so it's cool. So there's a lot of things that are in play, but I'll go represent the district up at Joint Finance and ask for and tell them how important those things are on Wednesday. And I think things are going to go pretty well. It's just going to be a process.
It is really interesting. I just was at a legislative breakfast, and there were, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 legislators there, and they're still learning. It's some of them have been sitting in those seats for so long, and they're still learning school finance. And what do you mean that if we do, if we increase your revenue limit versus categorical aid, and how that affects us, not just now but in the future. So it's very interesting, and things are just all over the place right now. Like I said, the governor is proposing anywhere from 30% to 60% special ed aid, and that's huge. That alone, they're talking about 4K. Right now, we count them as 0.6 of a person. They've talked about maybe making them a full person for us to count. So that would be kind of nice too. There's just...
To talk with Maria about the revenue limit versus categorically. The past, whenever we get 100, 200, whatever per pupil, during Governor Walker's tenure for 8 years, it was all categorical, meaning it didn't have an impact on local property taxes. So whenever we got that student increase, we didn't increase our property taxes we still had the revenue caps. That was above the revenue caps. Now they're saying that, and we've always asked for revenue limit. We've always asked for that. Not we meaning all, like WASDA, WASB, all that. Well, now they're thinking about doing it, and there's superintendents of business. Well, hold on a second. So that means that we're going to have to raise taxes locally well, we like how Governor Walker did it before. So there's gonna be a lot of conversations that are gonna take place of not only what the increase is, but where that money comes from. Because if it's a revenue cap increase, we've already built that with paying off our debts early. We have a little bit of cushion to absorb that, but it would be, 30% of that, so 30% of $260 of it would come from local property taxes, the other 140 would come from state aid. So that's gonna be kind of a question, not only the monies we get, but how they come about being gotten. So.
I just have one question. Well, yeah. So that, you said we borrowed $1 million last year?
No,
Not last year.
Oriole Athletic Complex.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's where that went, and
Yep.
we're almost done paying that.
right.
And then if we can, well, so we can borrow up to $1 million,
Mhm.
and that is going to go towards,
What we've already been doing. Yep. And that we did discuss when we looked at the amount of money for, and that was when we passed all the different construction bids here.
And the payments have been about $150,000 a year.
okay, thank you.
I have one question on post-employment benefits.
Mhm.
Have those been tracking up? Like, do you actually think that there's a chance that there will be lower utilization?
I do, yes. They can spend, in their first year, they can only spend their max that they get in 1 year. So it could be maybe $15,000. The tricky part gets if they don't use it all in that first year, it rolls over. So we've got people that have been gone for 5 years, but they still have their full
Sitting there.
benefits sitting there. So they could take it all in 1 year or none in 1 year, I have no idea.
Right.
It has been trending lower than I've been budgeting, but I tend to budget that just a little higher.
Yeah.
I try to, just look at how they spent it last year and think if their deductibles were, if their premium payments were this,
Mm-hmm.
chances are they didn't change more than 5%, 10%, so. Yeah, those are the tricky ones to try to nail down.
And I'm confident that we will be able to dwindle that closer to zero. There are just a lot of things out there, but I do recommend that, like we have in the past, we need to fill some things now. And we're still budgeting somewhat conservatively, so I feel confident. All right. Next, staffing update. As you can see here, we have school psychologists Rachel Plotchek and Tom Nabel. We're all set. Julia Lettieri, she's been in because Fond du Lac does not have school right now, so she was working with Sir today and is going to work with Sir tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Sir said she goes well received.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So she's going to do conduct a song at the Strezic also. Lena Thompson, she was hired in January already. We got set. Best Rady's going to be taking the new Bessie Allen special education position, and then her position's open. Jenny Harney, we do have one of North Fond du Lac's own, Christy McCauley, which is now Walter, that accepted the position this morning. So I'll recommend her approval for that for our special education or for our physical education adaptive PE position. Tech Ed, Paul Helms retiring. I think we got a good plan there, but we have to wait till July to execute that. Amy Baumhart, who was our ID or intellectual disabilities teacher, is now going to be the new second grade teacher, so we're going to have to fill that position. Kathy Hayes is retiring, so we're posting for an open, or for a speech and language educator. That's happening on the 30th, I believe the interviews are coming. And then special education at FLC, we have an educator that's resigning today, Amy Martin, so that will be one that it's not posted yet, but would need to be filled. And then, as I said, yet tomorrow, we're going to be talking as an administrative team and start looking at everything and really prioritize. So.
I'm just really nitpicky. Mr. Scully's name, is it spelled wrong?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
I have a comment too. I'm sure all the hires are excellent. Two in particular, John Kuhn, just briefly, but with my subbing in the past, have seen him in action, and I think he's just an excellent hire, and you know, as you said, grew up in the village. And also Christy McCauley, I've run across her too in her role as an educator, and I think she's going to be excellent too. So I'd like to compliment the staff on that. So.
Awesome.
Chrissy's asked that we send her a message the moment she's in Oriole again.
You got that? All right, cool. All right. Awesome, so there'll be more as we go through. I'm sure that we might have a special meeting in June just to approve a few. We'll see how it all goes. So it's exciting stuff. We got some really good talent. We got the Remember Retirement Party. If you can make it, let Amy know, the 20th of May. All right, so we'll go, Samantha will talk a little bit about ALC and the structure and what that's evolving to hopefully look like. No voting on this. We'll bring something new in May. And then Adam and Mike will take us on a little journey of what they're doing or some of the things that are happening at Bessie Allen for the curriculum, and then we'll get on to the new stuff. So Samantha, turn it over to you.
Sure. So Liz has been doing teaching at-risk students for a number of years. And this year, just we kind of had a moment of conversation that, hey, maybe some things that we're doing are not working. And so she was really open because we've unfortunately had a couple kids who've said, you know what, I just can't do the full day, or I can't, I'm struggling, you know, a variety of issues. We've had 2 students this year that have transferred to Fond du Lac to do their GED 2 program, or GUIDO, everybody calls it something different. And so that caused concern for us of like, hey, you know what, ALC was originally working, it was originally a grant program. Then when Liz came on, made some changes, and we think now it's time to make some changes again. So we've toured a couple of places, and Liz and myself, along with Jana Wiegand, attended, and Jill Gable, and we really liked what we saw at Oshkosh at the Riverside campus, which is part of Fox Valley Tech. And the reason we like that is they shared that, number one, kids there were brought on the college campus. So they're like, hey, we have very, very few problems, because when you're on a college campus, you tend to act a little bit different and a little bit better. And then they said that their program is also half days. So what we're trying to explore right now, we already met with a gentleman from MPTC who was Mr. Snyder, who used to be an AP at Fondy and now is transitioned to MPTC, and shared like, okay, is this a possibility? Oshkosh is partnering with Fox Valley Tech. It's called the GED 1 option. Would this be a possibility for us if we go down this road? And Pete was really open to it. He shared with us that someone from Fond du Lac had a little bit similar conversation, but he felt like we would, we're ahead of the game and, you know, kind of partnering that way. The GED 1 option, what it is, it's still your regular high school diploma. There's only a couple of programs that use it in the state because it's a little more difficult. You have to partner with a technical college. But your students either work on one or the other, either the competencies or they can take the GED tests. And the reason that we like that is we still have kids every day that struggle with test taking. You know, whether it be CAP placement or the GED, and fulfilling the competency route just made a lot more sense. And that's what Oshkosh shared with us too, is that, you know, they would have kids that they would go over things and they would completely understand it, and they go into that testing facility at Fox Valley Tech and they just blow it and wouldn't pass, you know, whatever exam. And so this GED 1 option allows them, if you've met all the competencies and can show that, let's say for English, because that tends to be one of the tougher GED exams, and you have to meet it with 80%, that would complete your English. Maybe for science, maybe you're like, no, I've got the GED exam and I take that. So it can be a combination of all of these. So what we're just in the mode right now is kind of researching what would that look like. You know, Liz feels that the kids that struggle attendance-wise to get there, if they only have to get there half a day, she's got a lot of better chance for success. She realizes when we went on the visit from the Riverside campus, she kind of said, wait a minute, did I just talk myself out of a job? And I'm like, no, you are the important piece, you're the relationship piece. But we loved, you know, they had a school counselor, a retired school counselor from Oshkosh that was one of the teachers, and so she did everything from, you know, briefly talking about the continuation of healthy relationships to bringing in guest speakers. The day that we were there, Judge Bissett was there, The next day she had 3 police officers. The next day she had a social worker. And so she said that career piece is so important for kids. So I guess with your blessing, we would like to continue, looking down this road. We've got a call into DPI to kind of see where they're at. They're in a little bit of influx because Beth Herman, who ran that part of DPI, has a different position, and it's kind of floated now for different people. So trying to figure out who the right person is. And Foxville Tech is getting us a copy of their contract. I think my understanding is it's probably a little bit similar to our LFI contract with MPTC. So as we gather more information, we will certainly share with you what Liz is going to be doing in the meantime, or what we're going to be doing, again, with your blessing, is until we're able to develop that full partnership with MPTC, we would like to kind of change our program to half days so we can have a morning and an afternoon session. This would allow, for example, a couple of our gentlemen who in the past have wanted to be a part of building trades, and it didn't work out to miss that much of ALC, they would actually have the opportunity to do that now. We always have students who want to take one class. It would just give us more flexibility. If it was a student, again, with whether it be mental health or whether, other issues, they could choose morning or afternoon. So it would allow us to increase our numbers a little bit because we would actually run 2 sections. And Liz is looking at using, MPTC is more than willing to share their curriculum for their alternative program with us. And then we also have the Kaplan curriculum and the, I forget the other name, Kybeck, it's something that I will remember. But we'd like to make those changes to start just curricular-wise and day-wise, and then let you know where we're at with meeting with FBTC to kind of really revamp our dream. Questions, comments, because that's just kind of a brief. I don't want to, I guess, tell me what you're thinking or what questions do you have for me to share with you?
I guess my first question is, if I missed this, I apologize, but will it all take place at NPTC then? They won't
Yes.
come
Yeah,
here at all?
next year, before we are partnered, no, it'll maintain in our ELC building, but then our goal would be to move Liz and the program to MPTC. Because again, I think we heard very strongly from the students and from the teachers at the Riverside campus, that was a huge part of their success, is that being in a different location and, away from peers, on that professional setting. Hey, I'm gonna go do my thing.
And then if they're successful, they'll come back here and get a diploma on our paper.
Yep, they would be able to, again, walk in our ceremony, same as they do now. It would be, there's a little bit of, when you take the GED, sometimes they set dates as far as like if they're taking that last test. Like I believe it's May 5th this year, close to that. There might be a waiting period, but there's different things we can do for kids that way. It would just open up the opportunity for our students who are at risk. The other thing that Ashka shared is that a program like this is not just for kids who struggle. Oshkosh is having kids who are 3.0 to 4.0 attend there because of maybe anxiety, or maybe like this is what works better for them because they're not fitting that regular school. So that was really neat to see. Hence a good conversation with Erin about we need to change our name. I think Liz likes it so far, like the Phoenix Academy, something different, because I think sometimes when you use the word alternative, people are thinking, behavior problem or something. No, it's just that you're not fitting into this nice little box of school. So, and I think, we definitely, continue down our mental health support pathway with our alliances in mental health education, with a number of kids that are in the counseling office every day just for different things, trying to make it through, and the struggles. It may not be for kids who are credit deficient. It may be like, this is a better fit for me to go and show this and show my learning.
Roughly how many students are we talking participating in the program?
So right now, we have had 15 students, but by having 2 sessions, Liz, feels comfortable, so far that she could have a morning section of 15 and an afternoon session of 15. I think again, it's about, is it the right fit for the student?
And one thing, Samantha, Fond du Lac is also she talked to Pete, but somebody at Fond du Lac too might be interested. This might be a nice co-op that we could, like LFI just isn't our students, we end up doing something at NPTC, become the agent for it or not, however that works, this could be something that could fund itself quite easily, but also help with, making some relationships and partnerships too. And the reason the phoenix came to my mind is that, it's a bird, we like birds, right? This phoenix can be orange and black, or maybe if it's Bonnie too, red and orange, but it's that whole rising from the ashes and taking a different route, so. Yeah, so the plan is Samantha will be working with Liz, then I foresee something coming probably in May. If not in May for something to change, then although the administrators, I'm not gonna hopefully have them be here in June or July, we could maybe I can get information, get it to you in June for the switch for next year.
I mean, a lot will depend on MPTC and, like Pete Steiner is saying, like sometimes we are a lot faster than his group moving, or sharing ideas. So it may be, January next year we're able to. He may say like it's gonna take longer than that. But I think, program-wise still we need to make some changes to half days. Liz and I are in full agreement on that and look at some different, curricular things.
All right. Well, on that, with the half days, do they do something in the other half of the day? Like now there's, some of them are working or something like that? Because to me, like enough minutes to be full students.
They do. So right now our kids, and I think that's part of maybe our need for change. So our kids right now in our alternative school are there all day and they have to do 15 hours a week of work. So they would still have the work component, but they would have a little bit more, flexibility with that. And some kids are morning, and some kids are not morning. So this would give them the opportunity to say, hey, you know what? I can do what I need to do and I'm still gonna work, but afternoon is a much better session for me.
And that's one thing with DPI, Samantha said there's some changes because we have to legally make sure that we meet what they got, so we'll be on the radar for all that stuff.
Yeah, I just had one other question. So what caught my attention was when you said, like kids with anxiety that have to make it out. So how do you, and I'm sure there is a difference, how do you, how do you draw that, I don't want to say line, but of, how do they qualify to be in this program versus who makes that decision and how?
So one of the things that Lisa Leader, who is their administrator, shared with us is they have really, really strict attendance policies. And like on day 4, if you were unexcused, you're done. And she said they even had a girl last year that it was literally a week before graduation, and she said, we stuck to our guns and said, this is what we told you and you're done. And heartbreaking. That sometimes, will weed kids out, but it really is a team of people, a little bit like what we do now. So the counselors and myself and Liz will sit down and look at an application for alternative school. What have they done? How was their attendance? What's their relationship like? What are they struggling with? What have we tried? What have we not tried? I feel terrible saying this, but sometimes we know when they're freshmen. And that's our worry, is that, we're trying skills tutor, we're trying to get them in, or the counselors work with them a lot, but we know it's not the right fit. And with our alternative school, we don't have, until junior year. Riverside campus allows kids to be 16 or 16 and 6 months. Oshkosh has kind of made the decision. I don't know if we would do that or if we'd still try to, keep it junior level because of everything. I think again, that group and talking, what's the right fit? Meeting with the student and parents to go over it and share, what are your thoughts? Team decision.
That's one of the things that I like about the evolution of this program. It's not just because you're not special education, but you're just a troubled youth, and then that's why we send you to ALC. It could be for anybody. It really could be for anybody that just needs a different learning environment to really
So that's kind of my question. It's like, so where's the line between like a charter school and alternative learning? Do you know what
Grades.
Yeah.
Well, like this.
I mean, that was more of my question.
Yeah. Well, in learning, and I'll see what the DPI said, but like I said, there are very few of these GED 1 options because you've got to have the partnership with the technical school. And I don't completely understand that, reasoning, but, there's that. So I think far more schools, like a neighboring school, they use the GED too, where just basically like, you're studying for the GED and the kids, okay, we're ready. Those programs you still have to have 80% completion. So if all of a sudden you've got, 10 kids you roll in GED 2 and 6 pass, the DPI is gonna ask you, what are you doing? What's going on? So as I learned more about how the GED 1 option came about, it was even hard to kind of find on DPI website. I really had to search for it after they shared it with us. So as I learn more, I will certainly share with you.
It gives us potential solutions too for mental health, because we have more students that are struggling with anxiety and mental health, issues, and how do we educate them, so it's again just kind of thinking outside of the box and opening up some more doors, because that population is growing. It's just our society. Just something to think about.
All right, so more to come, more to come. All right. Thank you, Sam and Liz, for all of the work on that, because we can do better. And if we can get I think that MPTC, just as Samantha was explaining it to me, that's a big deal. The LFI, and you guys saw that article in the paper, just that makes such a big difference. The environment matters in so many different ways, and so that could be a great thing, and also to leverage those resources too, which would be cool. So, all right, I'll turn it over to Adam and Mike, so if you guys want to. Yep, and then I'll just roll through as you go through. And then up here is, got to turn, this is the PowerPoint that Adam has.
I'm going to stand unless that makes you more comfortable, just a little closer here. But yeah, Aaron and I were talking the other day. He kind of we were just talking about some of the work that was done for literacy at the middle school, dating back to my time at the middle school as principal, and kind of said, hey, do people kind of know the journey and know what those results are and what the impact was from the work we did? And just wanted to come to the board meeting and share that and get that word out. So Mike's going to kind of chime in towards the end, so I'll kind of set you guys up and Mike will knock it down. This is a, try to keep it to about 10 minutes or so. We've given this presentation, you'll see on one slide across the state numerous times, have a lot of schools coming in, seeing the data and what we did, and just really want to learn, and even nationally have shared this too. So getting a lot of input from people about this as well. So. And when we present, we always start with the data. We give people a chance to say, no, we don't want to hear what you did because it doesn't look good enough. But I think the data really speaks for itself. So, so state testing data here. This is a graph of, and this work all started in 2013, was kind of the planning stage. So 2013, up until last year, this is the number of kids advanced and proficient in our state assessment for literacy. Really an interesting piece here that I've never seen. I kind of routinely look at this Badger exam year. I've never seen a school that has a graph like this. Typically that's the highest point because the state changed their cut scores to look really good, and then everyone the last 3 years have just decreased their advanced and proficiency from that point just because of kind of those inflated numbers the state did. So I just looked the other day, and even some schools are like 20% below looking at that rate. So that's definitely want that line going up, and it's continuing to go up. And then points-based proficiency, this again is kind of just taking an average of our state assessment results in middle school for literacy, and that average just keeps going up, which again, we like seeing that, and that's unusual. State report card scores, those have climbed since we did the work, and this is a little bit kind of a map. Some map data that we made some adjustments with, but that if that map would have been kind of where it was naturally, that point probably would be up a little bit higher there. So definitely trending in the right direction, even on a year where we didn't do so good in one instructional area. It's great to see that, hey, we still are maintaining those scores. Ranks, as far as where is our middle school rank compared to other middle schools in that state report card. And this is overall all schools. Before we did some of this work, we were close to dead last on that school report card in the state of Wisconsin. I think the high point or the low point was 127th in the state. And again, this past year we kind of went up a little bit due to math, not that literacy piece, but we have plans in place for math and some things we're working on. But yeah, pretty excited to see that graph. And then if you break it apart to just looking at schools, middle schools in our state that have a significant economically disadvantaged population that are similar to ours, Again, we start out one of the, maybe the lowest ranked schools in middle schools in the state, and then consistently been in that top 15 range for the last few years, and that's where I think you've heard us talk about, you know, in some measures we have our middle school is one of the top ranked schools in the state, so that's where this information comes from. So, and looking at too, you know, I really have dissected this data with some people and looked at, okay, was there, I'll kind of get some of the myths of, oh, just, you know, we got luckier, the numbers were kind of just, it just all broke right for us, and we just had 5 years of just kind of the numbers making us look good, but it's really not the case. When I look back and look at 6th, 7th, and 8th graders from a few years back, and then look at them as 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, we had 38 of those students were advanced and proficient on state assessment, and then in that time in the middle school, we almost doubled that number to 74 students, which again just doesn't really happen just because it wasn't we just had a high achieving group of kids moving through that carried us. That wasn't the case. So. So some things that we've kind of heard in district at times when we look at this data that are just total myths when we look at the data would be, again, that high achieving piece. There wasn't a high achieving group of kids that came through, and that just skewed the numbers. That increased enrollment piece, yep, we definitely have more kids coming to us, but that average points-based proficiency, that continues to go up, so it's not the idea that we're getting students that are coming to us advanced and proficient. That's why we're showing that growth. That's not the case. And then also sometimes people would say, well, we have lots of students, or we have many students taking the alternate assessment, which in some instances is a assessment that students score better on, so that's why the scores are inflating, but actually at the middle school, the number of students taking that assessment has decreased, and our achievement scores keep going up. So
and there's
we're all
also
kind of just debunking those myths. Yeah.
There's also, correct me if I'm wrong, a percentage of our students can take the DLM and that's it, right? And we can't get over that percentage?
The state has a percentage of looking at. We do what's best for kids, what's appropriate, but you know, we obviously monitor that. We only want to give students that curriculum if it's appropriate for them. But
and they only get it if it's in their IEP. They have alternatives.
Yep, it'll be learning based, not the assessment based. So, so then, is there any other measures, or is it just in the state assessment that we're seeing this? When we have presented this, there's probably about another 10 slides of our local assessment, our STAR reading scores. You can see there too, basically, again, we doubled our achievement on this local assessment in reading in that same amount of time. So I could show you more reports on STAR, but just kind of included one for sake of time. And when we look at some of the numbers with honor roll and some other in-school assessments we saw similar increases too. So when you know, in my world, I look to triangulate that data and make sure, okay, is it lining up? Is it that? Then we think that's a true indication where things are at. If we see just one data point, it's tough to know, okay, is it something or not? So really strong data, really strong indications here. With all that said, again, this is just a list of districts or organizations that have contacted Mike and I over the years. Guam was one. Got a great, I was out in Portland presenting this information. A lady from Guam, from their State Department or their Territory Department was there, and she said, "This is amazing. Can you come to Guam?" But I'm like, "No, I gotta stay continental." But, and we do have. I didn't tell Mike this yet, but I talked to the Wisconsin RTI Center. Had approached Mike and I, interviewed us for a school success story that's going to be coming out soon. So we should be having some of this in print, at least across the state. So very cool stuff. This probably isn't linked, but probably the biggest takeaway from what did we do. This video is awesome here. So this kid is trying to take in the garbage can. It's like 30 seconds long. And this garbage can just whipping around in the wind. He's getting knocked over. He just stands right back up and goes and gets it and tries to drag it back in. He gets actually blown away at one point trying to get this garbage can to his house. And this just so reminds me of our staff at the middle school and across our district where teaching's hard. And you're going to get smacked in the face. You're going to get, not physically, but theoretically, you're going to get knocked down and all those things, but staying that course and believing in what you're doing, having that collective commitment and all moving in the same direction is really what led to this and what continues to lead to this. So hard work done well, feels really good. So in a nutshell here, what did we do? Again, we present, we kind of go a little bit more in depth on this, but just really just looking at best practices and that RTI framework or multi-level systems and supports. But for this piece here, I'll just kind of concentrate on just, if you go up a little bit, Aaron, just a little bit of the tier 1 pieces and then some of those leadership pieces. Keep going. Yeah, so this is good here. So, and one of the pieces that was really, I think the biggest thing on that I didn't mess up. I guess I always think that too. I could really mess this up, but Cale Burke talks about going slow, and he makes this this analogy to Procter & Gamble and solutionitis. Sometimes we just act too quick. We want to get that solution right away, and I definitely, as a leader, as a teacher, sometimes would fall into that of, well, I got to help. I got to find that solution. What Procter & Gamble did is they brought in a company to help them change their numbers as far as just their bottom line of losses and gains. And this company they hired, instead of giving solutions to Procter & Gamble, decided, hey, we're going to go into people's homes. They were invited, of course, but we're going to go into people's homes and talk to people that are cleaning houses and say, hey, what do you need? What are you looking for? And, kind of a long story short, all that came back to, from that work, they invented the Swiffer Sweeper based on feedback from people and kind of going slow and not trying to find a solution right away. So if you scroll up here, and probably the biggest thing I probably lucked into was, and if you go back right here, was the first couple months of the middle school was just listening, understanding, talking to my staff and asking lots of questions, and again, just listening and trying to figure out, okay, what are we really good at the middle school? I knew where our data was academically. So what are we really good at? Let's focus on this piece. Let's focus on one thing and do it really well, or a couple of things and do them really well. And then that piece, collaborating with teachers, having a teacher team, and really making sure that I'm listening to what those teachers are saying, because every day I'm in administration, it's a day more I've been out of the classroom. So I've kind of lost that connection. I have to keep it in the forefront. So kind of the big idea when it came to then tier 1, and the idea that gets a lot of interest. I know I have someone from the National PBS organization had just emailed me the other day saying, hey, I want you to tell me more about what this is here. But we looked at, when I talked to people, talked to students, everyone in our school knew what those rules were. Be ready, be respectful, be safe. Students all knew that. They could all tell me that. Our staff could repeat that back to me. And no one really questioned. It wasn't confusing, like, well, what do you mean be safe, Mr. Broner? I don't understand what that means. We all were on the same page. So we kind of looked at that and thought, okay, could we replicate this for literacy, this framework of behaviors for literacy? And if we could do it, how could we do that? So kind of midway through that first year, I threw this idea out to our English teachers and said, hey, let's start to look at these standards, and these are the anchor standards for reading, and can we get these down to 3 or 5 rules for literacy that we make sure we know, and we make sure our students are aware of that, hey, we are expecting you to do these things because that's just what kids do at SEL. So we put those into a poster that's up there that kind of, again, has some language that speaks to those standards, and we knew our English teacher would go deeper with that, but this was that language piece that started to change things for us as we started to work towards these pieces. If you keep going there, Aaron, writing had the same 10 anchor standards. We looked at those, and we had a lot of discussion. It took, again, a couple months to figure out, okay, can we get those down to 3 or 4 rules for writing? And came up with this Oriole Way writing piece. So, and as you can see, we try to play off each other. So, hey, when you're reading, you're really thinking. As you read, defend your thinking. Telling middle schoolers that, hey, we don't care what you think is really empowering, because they don't want you to tell them what they think. So we don't care what you think, but you need to back it up with evidence, strong evidence, and just talking about those pieces that tie into those standards. Same thing with writing. Hey, we don't care what you think and write about if you're, as long as you're defending that with solid information, it's appropriate in all those pieces. So, so this is a piece when we present sometimes, this is really what we get a lot of feedback about, this tier 1 approach that we took. And when I have presented with Mike, or presented with the team, or present alone, I always ask, hey, have you heard of anyone doing this? And people are like, no, we've never heard of this, especially like people at the upper levels at, say, different state departments or in RTI organizations across our state, and others are like, no, we've never heard of this. This is really interesting. So as far as the research with this, you're not going to find any research. We went with evidence-based practice as far as We're going to try this because we need to do better, and we're going to see if the evidence says we should keep doing it, which we saw evidence before. It's a slam dunk that this has really helped us. So, so again, kind of a long story short here, and we really made sure we were really just doing those questions that we should ask at all of our buildings. Hey, what do we want our kids to know? How do we know they're learning it? What do we do when they don't? What do we do when they already do know that? So as far as those tier 1 practices, just, our staff, I just had to make sure, and they had to help me make sure, do we understand what we're doing? Do we know what that minimum expectation is? Do we have any questions about that? We actually did role playing on, hey, what if you have a kid that says this? And I remember being in this room role playing these scenarios with staff before they came up, so we had ammunition and we were ready to go if that happened in the classroom. So there was no surprises, and I had a lucky staff that would be honest and tell me, no, we don't get this, or this doesn't make sense. And it just took a lot of courage from our teachers to try something that really hasn't been tried before. We felt that we created a great plan. So, and I'll kind of go through some of it. You can kind of scroll up through here, Aaron, and just for sake of time, but just kind of, and I guess this was, if you go back down, and maybe even Dominic remembers this, but this was one piece too that with culture of greatness, and we talked a lot to our staff, and I mentioned it to a lot to our students, that hey, we want to be the best middle school in the state of Wisconsin. And if there was a kid in my office for a behavior situation, hey, just so you know, we are trying to be the best school in the state of Wisconsin. You're a big part of that. How can you, and always relate it back to that, or just again bringing it into every kid in our class or in our school mattered, and they were all part of making our school great. So, and I just love this quote. I don't have the author, I was some educational scholar, but the reason I have no problem saying this to anyone is, I challenge you to show me when high expectations don't work, because when we lower expectations, for sure there's lots that can go wrong when you're doing that. So, so kind of just a summary of kind of where we started, and there's lots of feedback here too. I can say this, but just feedback from staff, and this was ongoing throughout the process. Hey, what's working? We talked a lot about when we had a staff meeting face-to-face, look that teacher in the eye next to you, tell them, if you're not doing this, how come? What's the obstacle? And it's okay if you're not doing it. Now, some of us are slower, faster than others. It might be something I need to give you, or we need to give each other to do this, so we didn't shake fingers at people, but we looked to solve problems. So you can kind of scroll through that, but just consistent language, a lot of comments about just the work that was done and how, and we feel really good about that. And I love too, when I talk to the middle school staff now, they are not satisfied at all. We'll look at some numbers, and I have to go back and show them numbers from 3-4 years ago. If they're getting mad or upset about, gosh, we can do so much more. And they're like, well, we have done a lot, but we still want to take our kids to another spot. So the work continues. Mike's got some amazing things going on too at the school that have helped carry this on, and just a fun little awesome thing we have going amongst all the other awesome things. So Mike.
When they started this process, they created a writing assessment using the anchor standards, and they set a goal for each grade. And at the end of the third assessment, they gave 3 a year. Each grade level would have a certain percentage of students showing improvement. We changed it when I started to having the teachers at each grade choose the anchor standards in both reading and writing that they wanted to assess throughout the year. So that led to about, out of the 20 anchor standards, 10 of each writing and reading, we had about 15 that were assessed throughout the year at all grades. So we set the benchmark saying 80% of students in grades 6 through 8 will obtain proficiency in a predetermined priority standard as chosen and assessed by classroom teachers at least 3 times throughout the course of the school year. So that allows us to focus on more of the anchor standards than just writing, and it's more of a literacy-based approach instead of just writing. So we started to branch out, and some of us are still doing literacy standards, but because of the math scores that were mentioned, we started doing math, standards as well. So a group of our teachers are doing the anchor standards for their grade, and other groups are doing literacy. We have in the 6th grade, every single student at the tier 1 level, meaning in the classroom, they get to do accelerated math in their math class as warm-ups. And that's also an intervention that's used at the tier 2 level for 8th grade students. Mrs. Gross has a group of 18 students that were deemed to be the most struggling in math. All those students have earned at least 2 years growth this year, and sometimes 3 or 4, based on just that simple everyday exposure at their level to math. Because the accelerated math is computerized, but it meets the students at their level. So as the students go up, the problems get harder. And then it spits out information on the skills that the students need to work on, and then it allows for the teachers to be able to teach to those skills in the classroom. And 6th graders also have IXL reading as a warm-up every day. So then our new schedule next year is going to allow us to have more of these intervention times and more staff to give out these interventions at the end of the day for 31 minutes every day for a period of 18 weeks. We also will have a resource hour, which will allow teachers to have flexible study halls. So let's say you have 10 students in a comm skills class that are struggling with the same concept. That comm skills teacher can pull those 10 kids and reteach and provide more interventions specific to that class. So hopefully that combination of oral time and resource time will allow us to do more specific interventions that will allow us. We have 2 intervention classes now for reading. We pull kids for 18 weeks during their exploratory, which is not really a popular move. Middle school is about exploring and having time to get all the electives that you can get in. So part of the reason why we changed our schedule is to hopefully have those intervention classes be able to be taught during the resource hour or during the intervention period. So that way the kids can still enjoy their exploratories and not have to miss out. I want to share some data as to why one of the reasons why we changed our schedule and why this works.
We'll get to the schedule, I've got that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
But I'm not doing the schedule now, I'm just throwing some data.
Okay.
Doing winter star reading assessments, our 6th graders, they went up by 12%, so 47% are at grade level. But there are 42% of those 6th graders that are within 2 years of being at grade level. So they're either at 4th or 5th grade reading level. So we focus our interventions and our oral time on those students. We will have a higher increased amount of students theoretically reading at grade level. We have for the 7th grade, they went up by 10%, so 40% are at grade level. But again, there are 38 students that are 2 years away from being at grade level at 4th and 5th grade. And then finally, 8th grade is also at 40% grade level. They went up by 6%, but 29% of them are within 2 years. So if you focus on moving the middle, everyone else will move up. That's going to be our bread and butter. So, I mean, that's kind of why we worked on changing the schedule. That's why we continue working on what Adam explained. It's a years-long process. It's not going to ever, change. It's not ever going to stop.
We're in an infinite game, not a finite. We're not here to win today or tomorrow. We're here to keep getting better and better and better and better. So thank you, Adam and Mike, if you guys have any questions. But also I'd say get on in there, check out some reading and check out some instruction. It's good stuff. Things don't just happen because, and this is happening all over too. We have our Lucy Calkins reading and writing, and then also new penmanship and inputting classes at Friendship. I know Samantha's working with Adam too at the high school to really take these gains that we have and continue to have them grow. We start to see results on their ACT tests and also Aspire tests as we go on forward. So, but thank you guys very much. Good work.
Thank you. Mr. Broad mentioned how teachers have a big impact in this. And I'm going into education next year in college because of the teachers at the school district. They have made just the way they carry out and teach every day makes me want to do what they do for the rest of my life. So I just wanted to add that in. That because of this program, they inspire me to do what I'm going to do.
You inspire us, man. That's why we're here. Some good stuff.
Thank you, Dominic.
All right, so we have, our next meeting is going to be on the 13th of May. There isn't one in the fourth Monday, so 13th of May, and it's going to have a lot of contracts, staffing, things like that, so we ready for that? Any other announcements? Chris, Sam, Adam, Maria, Mike, Dave, anything? All right, here, hold on, as they would say, hold on to your hats. It's, I mean, we're almost, I mean, we got graduation coming up in less than a month. Yeah, so, awesome. All right, so that's all I have, and then we can go on to new stuff. You want to get going?
All right, then we'll move on to new business, and number one we completed earlier, so we'll do number two. Discuss and consider allowing field trip to Minnesota for Concordia Language Village.
Tell you, that Senora V, though, she gets an idea and boom. So this is, Samantha, if you want to just explain kind of briefly what this is. And the reason it's coming to the board, we've gone to like out of state Minnesota, mostly Chicago area, where it's just been like one day and you're back. So that's been pretty much, haven't brought that to the board, but this would be overnight in another state. So every time we're going to do overnight in another state, I'd like the board to have input and say, know what's going on. So Samantha?
Sure. So you have a handout from Stacy Beagle in your packet. And for those of you who know Stacy Beagle, she's very thorough. So she's put together a lot of this. She's wanted to do this for a while. And now that her mom is retired, she's got both grandma and grandpa, so she feels more comfortable that this can happen. So she's wanting to go to the Concordia Language Village. It's just a great immersion program for our kids and kind of a mini, hey, this is what it's like, you know, to get them to think about, would you want to do things abroad? Would you want to do things at college? You know, continue on it with their Spanish. So she's really put everything back on the sheet for you, you know, objectives. She was looking at taking the Spanish 5 students, so again, to give them the best possible immersion. The dates are on here, again, in Minneapolis. She's thought of everything. Again, if you know Stacy, she's not a person that she probably would struggle just to drive 5 hours straight in a car. So she's like, all right, got to plan breaks, got to do this. Trying to look at cost for students. So she wanted to get this approval so she can get it booked, and then she would also plan on asking Oral Nation for a little bit of financial support because she really wants students to be able to attend. And we've got, you know, obviously our compassion fund and things too if kids are really struggling to figure that out. But there's different activities that are listed on here, itineraries on the back, transportation with the van would be the vans. The Language Village just does a great job, you know, providing a bunch of activities, and again, the goal is just to get the most immersion for kids. So I guess because she's so thorough, I'm gonna let it speak for itself, and if you guys have questions, let me know. But otherwise, we would ask for your approval for this trip.
And she'd go through all the field trip forms, all the medical things, all that kind of stuff.
Which we just kind of got in the place when we put a Kentucky trip here, so. Also, speaking of how thorough Mrs. Beal has been for this, the date of this trip also for the 10 students that would be going on this year, athletics would not be impacted by this because it actually works out perfectly that it's the in-between between the fall and winter season, so there's no conflict for students, and that was something that Ms. Beal looked into and checked in, was working with me on to make sure that those kind of students wouldn't face any type of penalties that way. It works out absolutely perfect timing-wise for these.
Yeah, when we looked, it's just basketball practice, and she's ready to talk to the girls and Gary, so it would be fine. Questions, comments, feedback, approval?
My only comment is having a a daughter in Spanish 5 who just complained about having to speak at a restaurant. I think this immersion thing is an amazing idea, and it's unfortunate we couldn't do it sooner, but I think this is awesome and really helpful.
Yeah, it is much different. You know, I know the rest of the kids are like on the spot, but it's just, they need that, because otherwise just doing the classroom, you don't get the real flavor. You know, I would love for more of our kids to do even like the summer abroad or something where you stay with the family. I have a sister who's done that a couple of times, and she's like, that's how you learn, you know, because you're forced to do it. And so I'm hoping this will kind of pique their interest to do more.
Nothing else, I'll entertain a motion then to approve the field trip to Minnesota for Concordia Language Village.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Any questions? All right, roll call.
Stefan?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Pollock?
Yes.
Goldowski, yes.
Motion carried. Item 3, discuss and consider cooperatives with Oakfield for track, boys and girls, and golf for the 2020 and 2021 seasons.
Yeah, Oakfield, great partner. I'll turn it over to Matt, brief description of this and how it would be ran.
We already run several clubs with Oakfield, boys and girls soccer. For example, with them, our cross-country program, we work with Oakfield on it. A lot of the sports we house, obviously we house the soccer, we house the cross-country and stuff. This is one of those things here in recent years, looking at numbers and coaching needs to help out both districts here. Golf, our numbers as far as our golf team haven't been the best, and it'd be nice to be able to actually have a varsity level team. We do have a varsity team, but they're really, you know, as far as being able to compete wise, we're not there. So being able to have both a JV and a varsity level, kind of like what we talked about the last couple of years of football, having that same idea model, making sure we have lower levels to be able to build for future success. So the co-op with golf with them would work out. Track also, we talk about coaching needs. One of the biggest things that is facing all sports across the states, it's not North Carolina, it's all states, is coaching needs. And the one with track would be a huge help with coaching needs, especially with our head coach, Coach Harney, stepping down after this year. This would be a great thing. The trade here is that golf would be housed by Oakfield, so Coach Keel would become an employee of the Oakfield School District. We'd still have all the same opportunities and stuff like this for golf here. It just allows us to expand that possibilities further. And we would house the track program, obviously with our track facilities, and also, but the option of being able to pick up some really great coaches with the Oakfield School District that are currently in the position of coaching track. Really made this a win-win for both Oakfield and us if we decide to go this route. Not only build our programs up, but make sure we have high-quality coaches in place to teach these student athletes.
On the track, man, what are the numbers? You know, I know it, from my experience, it swings up and down.
We're down slightly, but we've been pretty consistent as far as, having, about 50 students out for track each year, and that's a credit to Coach Harney and her staff. Oakfield first got a track program last year. Last year was their first year with an actual track program. They had talked about, we had, flirted with the idea of co-oping track many years ago with them, to try to get them a program started. They were able to get a program up and running last year. But they're, and it's one of those things here, it's struggling. They currently have 15 students out for track, and you run that numbers game, it's very difficult to maintain and hold that program when we don't have that support. So number-wise, we're not taking, to me, it's giving opportunities to both schools. We're not taking away any opportunities, we're increasing our opportunities, and with our time shift next year with us moving at the high school, middle school from an 8 to 3:10 schedule. It actually helps out all of our co-ops because it puts us more in line with a lot of our co-op schools. So as far as start and end times, it's going to help out with transportation, it's going to help out with practice times, making it more consistent. That's not just for these co-ops, we're talking about for our soccer co-ops, for the wrestling co-ops with St. Mary Springs even, making it a lot easier on our coaching staffs that are in co-ops to figure out, getting that, and when we're going to hold practices and getting everybody here at the same time to do that.
So in essence, what it does with track is it allows us to have more teams and relays and higher competition during practice, and hopefully those numbers grow exponentially for both boys and girls, which can help out quite a bit.
For example, even though we have decent numbers at our track level, the last 2 track meets, we've had to pull out of the 4x400 relay because right now have a lot of our kids are on the disabled list with some injuries and stuff, so we haven't actually been able to compete in the 4x400 even with the healthy track numbers that we have. Certain things like that would give us the ability to make sure that we could find other people in there to run in place in those competitions.
You said the Oakfield head coach, track coach would coach next year?
Potentially come here and coach here, yeah.
We're hoping.
We're hoping, that's a hope, that's not a definite, that's a hope. Coach Gibson currently coaches with Doug Forsythe with our cross-country team, and she's done an excellent job. Like, she was the one that pioneered and spearheaded getting that track team started over there. Very passionate individual, and if we were fortunate to get her to come here and take over the program, that'd be wonderful. Not a guarantee though, just what we're hoping for.
Just a quick question, so when we say they house it, we house it, clearly I got the gist that it, like Coach Keel would get paid from Oakfield, but what happens like if you are conference champs, then that's Oakfield's?
Just like this past year, our wrestling team was conference champs. It's North Fond du Lac and St. Mary Springs are conference champs for wrestling. We share, it's a whole thing. It's not an individual thing, it's everyone quote. And that was actually something that was discussed at our last athletic director meeting for the conference. For example, if our boys soccer team would have won the conference championship this year, it's North Fond du Lac, St. Mary Springs, Oakfield, and Laconia would be conference champs. We look at it as it's everybody together for one. Which after next year, that those clubs are, the soccer clubs after next year will be changing too a little bit slightly. But as of right now, and
because we house that with the flyweight tournaments, but now in golf, will we compete in
golf is one of those goofy ones that we haven't made a final decision on whether or not, even though Oakfield would be the host of it, and they would be the ones that would technically be paying the bills for it. We would pay them the services to be a part of them. We might still stay in the flyweight conference for golf, even with Oakfield being the go-to for that. Hockey and golf are very unique sports when it comes to WRA recognition and transfers. So Doug Mock, the athletic director over at Oakfield, and I have been in long talks and negotiations about what is the best for the sport in general. And one of the drawbacks to the Trailways Conference as far as golf is that they go all over the state of Wisconsin. Long travels, we're talking 2+ hour travels for some of their golf meets, whereas if we were to stay in the Flyweight Conference, the Flyweight Conference does an incredible job of keeping all of our meets and stuff local and in the area here. So Doug Mock is on board with the idea of keeping us in the Flyweight, even with them housing it.
In the Trailways Conference, the closest conference members to Oakfield are probably comparable to the furthest away in the flyweight, if you understand what I'm saying. There would be a tremendous reduction in travel time and distance, which especially for a sport like golf, because they have to get out of school so much anyway, to reduce that as much as you can, so you can take advantage.
One of the considerations with co-ops from, I guess, well, from all of our perspective at board is the concern about replacing or taking spots away from our players. And I don't see that with track. Golf, we just need more people to compete.
Yep.
Track I see as an individual sport kind of within a team framework. So if we have two top sprinters, they're both going to be able to run and win if they, that kind of thing. So I don't see that being a problem with this here with the track co-op either. So.
No, like I said, that was one of the big drive behind this. This was something not only help out us as a school, but also help out a neighbor school who we co-op with many other sports already, to really give more opportunities for the kids to compete and to help out with travel and budget-wise too. Obviously, like for track, Oakfield, track facilities, unfortunately not comparable to ours, so it gives those students the ability to come over and work on our track facilities, and golf-wise gives our kids, like I said, those opportunities again, compete.
All right.
Any other questions?
Anything else? Okay, then entertain a motion to discuss and consider cooperatives with Oakfield for track, boys and girls, and golf for the 2020 and 2021 seasons.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Grabowski, yes. Hawk?
Yes.
Stefbacher?
Yes.
Pollock?
Yes.
Motion carried. All right. And number 4, discuss and consider changing daily schedule at Washington High School and Bessie Allen Middle School.
All right, so this is in concert with the new time change, and I'm going to turn it over to Mike and Samantha as they talk about going back to where we started with even a different kind of twist. All right.
Thank you.
Go take it away, Mike and Sam.
So, I just want to provide a timeline of how this evolved to this point, and then hopefully just explain how we feel that this schedule will help us in so many ways. I think it was September, the Bessie Allen Middle School Advisory Committee met, and that's kind of like the school improvement team. And one of the things that kept on popping up was, okay, these are opportunities for us to grow, these are some gaps. However, our schedule doesn't allow us to address them. And it always kept on popping, our schedule doesn't allow us to address them. So we started to say, what would an ideal schedule look from our perspective to address some of these needs? And eventually, after we played schedule like makers and we created a schedule, we went to Aaron, and Aaron was like, this looks good, work with the high school, make sure that their needs are aligned and that we can move forward. And then after that, this is what the schedule evolved to. From the middle school perspective, this will help us immensely with reducing overcrowding in our lunches. Our middle school has grown by 80 plus students in 3 years. That's almost an entire class of students. Our cafeteria, we only have 2 sessions of lunch, and it's filled to the brim. We have a lunch aide there that works and is trying her best to maintain order. We do send some students to classrooms, smaller environments, but with this change in lunches, it will be way more manageable, and we can still even send some students to smaller environments, so it would be a very good benefit for the culture of the cafeteria. In terms of our resource hour, the change in study hall, right now we only have 3 teachers available in the afternoon to provide a study hall opportunity for over 150 students. So Brandon Switz has about 80 or 90 of them in what we call an honor study hall, in the cafeteria. And in reality, that's just a big waste of time for our students. And we, as a school, didn't feel ethically that that was a good spot for our students. They need to be with a teacher in a smaller environment, and at the end of the day, just doing something more enriching if they don't have any work to do or interventions to go through, or do something like focus on their classwork and whatnot. So by changing the schedule, we would allow for our teachers to be able to have each a resource class and be able to do what I explained earlier, where is take a group of kids and flexibly schedule them so that they can focus on what they need to do in those classes. This will provide us an Oreo time at the end of the day, which will give us time, at least at the middle school, to provide 18 weeks of intervention in the middle of the year. The first 9 weeks, we're tentatively scheduling school-wide activities to kind of introduce kids, like nesting / community building activities. We only have 14 minutes in our nesting periods throughout the regular school day. With 31 minutes, that will allow us to expand on those community activities. We'll have 9 weeks at the beginning, then 18 weeks of intervention, and then 9 weeks at the end to kind of wrap things up. We can do ACP, which is career, planning for students. We can do social emotional learning. We can do general or away activities. So it provides us the opportunity to schedule those things in a specific time slot. And then finally, we want to be able to have expand our club and enrichment for students that are meeting academic standards. So, and we still haven't, we're tentatively working on trying to have some staff members sponsor some activities during either resource hour or Oreo time for students that don't need interventions and are caught up in their work, like an art club or a drama club. I don't know the exact specifics. We're going to talk to our teachers, but we want to also offer those enrichment opportunities for students during those times. So at least from the middle school perspective, those are key points as to why we wanted to change the schedule.
And then high school, so when we were approached by the middle school to say, hey, we want to change our schedule, and we knew that the time change was coming. We didn't know if that was going to be changed or not. We started discussions with our school improvement and our scheduling committee, and then really asked teachers, where are you seeing you're at in your curriculum? What are you able to cover? What do you like on block days? What do you not like? And certain staff members, whether it be, like a Stephanie Fox was like, it's perfect for my labs, block days. But then when we talk to an English person and they're saying, hey, you know what? I'm finding that my freshmen are struggling if I'm not seeing them 5 days a week. So we had some serious conversations and then surveyed all staff, and we actually had 100% of staff that said, hey, you know what? We are in favor for a curriculum reason to go back to an 8-period day. We felt like, do I think that there were more that we could do to support block learning? Yes. But I think that, one, we need to support middle school and look at changes. 2, we need to, review curriculum with what we're going through. And then to hear teachers say, you know what, I am, especially freshmen, seeing some concerns of kids, who don't see me 5 days a week. So we kind of went back to the drawing board. The one thing that we added this year, in addition to our homeroom, was Wednesdays during our oral time was reading time. So our kids are all expected to read during that time, and that's gone over fairly well. There's still some struggles, but overall, most homerooms, over 80% of them are reading on a consistent basis. We don't care what kids choose to read, whether it be a magazine, a book, if you want to read a paper you have for class, they have the choice of what to read. But we definitely feel strongly that we need to continue that to support literacy. And I forget who mentioned, well, gosh, if we're changing, with the possibility of changing to a 3-10, end of the day, we worry about, again, golf in particular. I think golf might be leaving every day this week. And track and sports, and it just seems so teachers have a real concern in spring. So they actually shared that too, we could be able to move our oil time to the end of the day. We could still have, Mondays is reading time, but then if a student missed at the end of the day, it wouldn't hurt instructionally, excuse me, in the core areas like it does now. So that's been really good conversation. We are going to tweak a little bit more, or not finalize that, what it will look like. Right now, it's tentatively scheduled for Mondays would be reading, and then the rest of the week, Tuesday through Friday, is what we're discussing between the reteaching, the clubs, and support for kids. We may come back to you if we feel, some of our seniors need that release time, like we did, I think, a year ago in study hall, sorry. So after we kind of come to the conclusion, we'll share that with you guys to see. Because part of our hope too for enrichment for kids, we are finding that it's not as successful that we would like it to be. We've tried to have some teachers offer some different things to them, and we have some kids who are like, hey, I don't have a study hall in my day, I'm taking a full load, so if I had 2 days a week or 1 day a week for oil time where I could sit in the library and either relax, or if I need to do homework rather than at night. So we're just trying to provide all those different options for kids. And for our teachers, I think this will give us the best. My hope for scheduling future still is, right now high school teachers teach 6 classes, which means they teach 6, and then they have a prep and lunch that I would love for us in the future to get that down to high school teachers teaching 5, so that we can actually look at more of, team planning, supported, different study halls with math or reading or literacy for interventions and things, because right now, 90+% of our study halls are run by the library, not classroom teachers, because they are teaching. So we are happy with this start of the schedule and kind of we'll work with it.
One thing I'm very happy to is they work with this comment, the first 3 hours have to be pretty much online, because that's where we have shared staff. And then Anthony also shared staff, so.
And Kurt, math.
And Kurt, yeah, so they work through all that.
Okay, any questions?
So for 6th, 7th, 8th, I mean, it's still, if the kids are in either band or choir, they're not getting a study hall at all. Right? I mean, pretty much.
They will get a study hall on the days if they're not in band.
Okay. But if they're in both, they will.
If they're in both band and choir, they won't.
Right.
So that's where maybe the oral time can help those particular students at the end of the day.
I have a comment and a question. My comment about block scheduling is we were like the pilot program, my class, when we came through. All 4 years of high school, we had block scheduling. And it was pitched to us as students that this is great for college prep. It gets you in this mindset of, 90-minute plus sitting and learning. My first semester of college, all of my classes were under an hour. And I was like, what? I mean, it just totally flipped me on my ear. And of course, the year we left, they went back to, I think, 8 periods. But yeah, so I'm happy to see a return to that.
And remember, we didn't have full block, we had modified block.
Right,
So
I do.
trying to provide the best of both worlds, but I
Yeah.
get what you're saying, there's actually, no research out there that's gonna say it's gonna prepare you for college.
And they split choir and bands, you only got half of a class. It was weird. But my main concern, and maybe you can help me, are the 6th graders getting a snack in the afternoon before they go home? Or are they really going 5 hours after eating and then going home? Because well, by the time they get home, it'll be 3:30 if they eat at 10:30,
We can give them a snack. I mean, that's
Well,
yeah.
I'm just thinking there's
That's a
no
good
way,
idea.
I'm pretty good at, being able to go a clip without eating, but there's no way I could focus around that 4-hour mark without something. But that was my only, I'm glad you were able to split up the lunches into 3 to relieve the staff on that end and all the other potential issues, but that's a good clip of time there between lunch and home.
I will definitely talk to the sixth grade team, we'll come up with something to feed the kids before.
Well, yeah, I'm just thinking they're gonna need something, I think.
They're probably gonna make that suggestion to me too.
Yeah.
Probably not gonna be done right now. That's early.
That's when the block is right now for the first lunch. My block is.
Samantha, I was taking notes, I was not able to listen right at the same time, but you said in the future you would like them to teach 5 classes, have a prep and lunch, and then was it do this?
Well, we don't have, like, what's nice, and it is middle school model, and so respect, they need to have that, team planning. We don't have that in our day.
Okay.
So the elementary has it, the middle school has it, the high school doesn't, because there's so many singleton classes. And, that would be our dream schedule in the future if, we could go down to 5 classes, which would mean more staff. That's the glitch here, is that, like, for example, today we're just about ready to hit the button on our master schedule next year. And I think I have 2 teachers that could have a study hall. And then the more we looked at it, one of them was actually Ryan Lyle for geometry. And, he shared too, he was like, hey guys, I think more bang for my buck is if you lower my numbers in geometry and give me a 6th section, I get it in math, so we're like, yep, good idea, let's do that. So it's great that teachers are willing, and obviously, sections dictate that, but it does, make it more difficult that everything otherwise has to be before or after school for them, that it's,
Anything else? All right, so entertain a motion to consider changing the daily schedule as presented at Spring Island Bessie.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Roll call?
Stepbacher.
Yes.
Pollock.
Yes.
Goldowski. Yes. Hack.
Yes. All right, motion carried. Number 5, discuss and consider educator contracts for the 2019-2020 school year.
And at this time, so John Kuhn and Christy Walter. So I have those 2, Christine Walter and John Kuhn. And John, he was all excited and jacked up about coming in. Christy, she's doing a leap of faith, wants to come here. She very much likes where she's at, but she's excited to come back home. And and I sent you the information on both of them. If you want to read more about what their what their letters of reference were and a little bit of their resumes. But I'm very proud of Mike and his team for finding these 2 high-quality candidates.
I saw Mr. Kuhn tonight at the track meet. So yeah, he's all excited about it, but I told him that there had to be a condition that he needed John, his son, John, to come in to North Fond du Lac versus Sprint.
Got a whole slew of kids, doesn't he?
He does, they would all be great.
Chrissy's gonna need some reorientation because her husband coaches at Elmira,
Yeah.
but we'll deal with that.
And she was at Parkside, I believe?
Yes.
And that, I think the demographics there will help as she comes out here to a lot of experience.
And she knows she's going to be at the head of all of our adaptive physical education too.
She was very, very, very excited when I talked to her today. Probably should be 3 berries there.
All right. Any further discussion? Do we have a point? I didn't get a motion yet. All right. All right, anybody want to make that motion?
I will.
All right, second? I'll second. And roll call?
Hack.
Yes.
Hack.
Yes.
Stepbacher. Yes. Goldowski, yes.
got her, are you texting her?
Yeah.
Should we take a picture?
Yeah. Sure.
Or thumbs up?
Yeah. There you go, it's ready.
All right, there you go.
We should first send her a thumbs down and then.
Awesome, cool. Got rocking and rolling, and now we have some, hopefully we'll have a couple more interviews coming up, some moving around, some more stuff posted, so hopefully we have some more coming up too. I'm going to Green Bay with Jim on Wednesday. He doesn't do the HR there, so I don't think we're gonna have to really talk a whole bunch about that, so it should be all right. All right, so the last one, consider educator resignation, is Amy Martin. She's a special education teacher at Friendship. Just at this point in time, she's just looking to do something different and get out of education and try some different things that she can find her passion for.
Do you have a letter or anything yet?
Yeah, I do. It's very short.
Okay. I don't know if we need to see it, but just so you have it in hand.
Nope, I got her in hand. I just got it this afternoon from Chris.
Do we need to have a name in here or just
Yeah,
educator?
I would put Amy Martin.
How many years has she been with the district?
Probably 4. And before that, she was with Fond du Lac. So. That's it.
All right. Do we have a motion?
I can.
Okay. I'll second.
Motion making machine.
Sick of dawdlers.
All right, then roll call?
Pollock.
Yes.
Hot.
Yes.
Stefan. Yes. Sowski, yes.
Do you want a picture?
No.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
That was-
Hey, it's 9:15.
That's
Sorry for overreacting. I'm less punchy.
Yeah. That's all I have.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion to go to closed session for the purpose of considering pay increase for 2019-2020 educators, hourly wage, and administrators under state statute 19.851C, and to discuss possible lease agreement with cellular phone company under state statute 19.851E.
All right.
And
Or Roger.
I mean,
Hey, Roger.